tanks. We'll cover more news right after this break.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. As we enter the third day of the government shutdown, senators are voting on a bill to reopen the government. So far, no breakthroughs with bipartisan talks. We'll bring you the updates. The White House urging Senate Democrats to reopen the government. It says the administration is actively deciding which agencies to cut if the shutdown continues. President Trump gives Hamas terrorists until Sunday evening to reach an agreement on his Gaza peace plan. The warning from Trump is now sending to Hamas and the consequences if the group doesn't reach a deal. A Biden ban ruled illegal. A judge says the former president overstepped when he banned offshore drilling. Trump says the United States is now in a non-international armed conflict. We discussed this with an expert in international national security and operational law. British police have identified the suspect in the attack on a Manchester synagogue. What the UK's Prime Minister is saying about the attack.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. President Trump gives Hamas terrorists until Sunday evening to reach an agreement on his Gaza peace plan. The president warns of serious consequences if Hamas chooses to continue fighting. Now, Trump took to social media today, writing that Arab nations in the Middle East have agreed with Israel signing on to peace after 3,000 years in the Middle East. Trump also noted the deal spares the lives of all remaining members of Hamas. And the president went on to issue his warning, saying if this last chance agreement is not reached, all hell will break out against Hamas. Trump recently presented his 20-point peace plan for Gaza, which would immediately end the war if all sides agree. Some of the key points are the withdrawal of Israeli forces to an agreed-upon line, the release of all Israeli hostages, the release of Palestinian prisoners, and a major surge of aid into Gaza. The showdown over the government shutdown has made its way to the Senate floor. Lawmakers are voting again today on a funding bill that would reopen the government.
We're asking Democrats to do nothing more than pass a clean, nonpartisan bill to fund the government for a few more weeks so that we can get back to bipartisan appropriations work.
Democrats, though, are holding tight to their health care and budget demands. They want to erase the Medicaid changes Republicans made in the One Big Beautiful Bill, extend Obamacare tax subsidies, and get assurances that the GOP won't cut more government spending in 2026.
The legislation that House Democrats and Senate Democrats have introduced together relates to a permanent extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits for working class Americans. Understand, in the Republican One Big Ugly Bill, where they enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history.
Republican House leaders, though, say they have nothing to negotiate, and these demands are unreasonable. Here's why.
The California loophole. Now, that's a provision that's also been adopted by states like New York and Michigan and Massachusetts. Other states have followed, other blue states. The California loophole allows taxpayer-funded Medicaid for illegal aliens. We eliminated that in the Big Beautiful Bill. Their repeal, their counteroffer is to repeal and reverse that. That would cost $34 billion of U.S. taxpayer funds. Number two, a provision that prohibits Medicaid from paying more for emergency care provided to illegal aliens than it does for American patients.
With no signs of a bipartisan breakthrough, the Senate vote this afternoon is expected to fail for the fourth time, leaving the government closed over the weekend. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
Senate Leader John Thune commented on the upcoming vote earlier today. Listen.
And that is a short-term continuing resolution to keep the government funded, which is sitting right now. This is sitting at the Senate desk. We will have a vote another hour or two, and it'll be the fourth time that Democrats will have an opportunity to vote to keep the government open. Now, at some point, reason good sense, common sense has to take effect here, because that's really what this is. They brought to us, and the speaker alluded to all the impacts on illegals and free health care programs in this country, a bill loaded with $1.5 trillion in new spending, which includes all these provisions. And they want to load that onto a 7-week continuing resolution to fund the government.
Democrats say they don't want to keep voting on the same legislation. They want to negotiate changes. They say their primary goal is to stop healthcare premiums from going up for people on Obamacare. The White House is again asking Senate Democrats to pass the continuing resolution to reopen the government. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the administration is working to decide which agencies to cut.
The Office of Management and Budget, as we've said repeatedly, is working with the agencies and our cabinet secretaries to identify where cuts unfortunately can and have to be made. And again, we understand there's another vote happening on the Senate floor in an hour. Maybe if Democrats do the right thing, this government shutdown can be over. Our troops can get paid again. We can go back to doing the business of the American people. But if this shutdown continues, as we've said, layoffs are an unfortunate consequence of that.
The White House said it wants the shutdown to end as soon as possible. Leavitt highlighted the impact of the shutdown, such as low-income families being unable to receive food assistance and troops working without pay. The White House also shed the spotlight on the violence in Portland, Oregon, led by Antifa.
President Trump will end the radical left's reign of terror in Portland once and for all. The president has directed Secretary Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other left-wing domestic terrorists. What's been allowed to happen in Portland, and we saw disturbing video footage of this last night, this is not peaceful protesting, this is left-wing anarchy that has been destroying this great American city for years.
Leavitt said the Justice Department is going to investigate the arrest of conservative journalist Nick Sortor during an attack by Antifa. She added that President Trump is reviewing what aid can potentially be cut in Portland. The press secretary urged mayors to ask for help from the Trump administration to crack down on crime, saying Trump is very willing to help. She pointed to Memphis, Tennessee, which is cooperating with the administration and allowing the National Guard to help fight crime. She said that since Monday, 153 arrests have been made in Memphis, including 5 gang members, 48 illegal guns have been seized, and 5 missing children have been recovered. The government shutdown has put a pause on one of the most closely watched economic reports. The Labor Department did not release September's jobs report today, leaving investors and policymakers without their usual snapshot of the labor market. Some private surveys are filling in the gap. Payroll processor ADP estimated that private employers trimmed about 30,000 jobs in September, while another firm says hiring plans are running at their lowest pace in years. Economists caution that inflation data and Social Security adjustments could also be delayed if the shutdown stretches on. Analysts note that the data quality held up in past shutdowns once reports resumed. That offers reassurance that the picture of the economy should still come through clearly, even if the numbers may be late. White House Budget Director Russ Vought said today over $2 billion in Chicago infrastructure projects has been put on hold. Vought posted on X. The aim is to ensure funding is not flowing into race-based contracting. The pause affects a long-awaited plan to extend the city's Red Line train. The move expands funding fights that have targeted Democratic areas during the government shutdown. Vought froze $18 billion in infrastructure funding in New York earlier in the week, and $8 billion for clean energy projects in Democratic states have also been paused. As the government shutdown continues, NTD's Daniel Monahan reports on how the funding standoff is affecting everything from air travel to weddings. Take a look.
The Transportation Security Administration says it's still screening about 2.5 million passengers a day, but if the shutdown drags on, travelers could face longer wait times at airports. TSA asked passengers for patience, while a spokesperson blamed Democrats in Congress for what they called partisan politics. Most TSA workers won't be paid until the shutdown ends.
Those looking to tie the knot may face an unexpected hitch.
Washington, D.C.'s Marriage Bureau has stopped issuing new marriage licenses during the shutdown. The Bureau is part of the D.C. Superior Court, which is limited to essential functions. But those ready to throw in the towel are still good to go. Couples can still file for divorce during the shutdown. Mayor Muriel Bowser previously passed the Love Act during the 2018-2019 shutdown, allowing her to issue licenses temporarily. For that to happen again, the D.C. Council would need to renew the measure. The Department of Veterans Affairs says medical care and benefits remain available.
If you're a veteran out there and you have especially medical needs or you need to get to our hospital or clinics, they're open, they're running.
But regional offices handling new disability claims are closed.
Our counseling, our BR&E issues for people get their voc rehab, how they get into new careers, those are going to be limited. Our outreach is going to be limited.
As for parks, the National Park Service's over 470 national monuments, memorials, and parks remain reliant on skeleton crews in the wake of the federal government shutdown. As of Thursday, the Grand Canyon National Park still remained open to visitors.
There was no stop for the van I was in and no checking on any of us.
The issuing of permits was suspended, trash pickup and restroom maintenance were put on hold, and information centers remain shuttered.
Go there totally closed. The main big building, and I took a picture of it myself, and it's just closed, not here.
More than 9,000 employees of the National Park Service are expected to be furloughed. Only about 2,500 to 3,100 remain on duty to protect life and property.
Furloughed staff are expected to return the first workday after Congress reaches a funding deal. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Following strikes on boats in the Caribbean, President Trump has notified Congress that the United States is in a non-international armed conflict and declared drug cartels to be unlawful combatants. The report sent to Congress says the cartels are conducting attacks across the Western Hemisphere. The administration has carried out 3 strikes in recent weeks against boats it said were smuggling drugs in the Caribbean. A White House spokesperson told the Epoch Times that the president is acting within the law of armed conflict to stop drugs from reaching American shores. An official told the newspaper the report was conveyed to Congress following the second strike. But some lawmakers have questioned the legality of the strikes, pressing Trump to seek authority from Congress. They say Trump's actions using the military for law enforcement are potentially an overreach of executive authority. Others in Congress are voicing strong support for the president's decision. The U.S. carried out another deadly strike against a speedboat in the Caribbean today. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said intelligence confirmed the vessel was smuggling drugs. Hegseth posted footage of the strike on X. Video showed a small boat moving in open waters before it suddenly exploded. Hegseth said the vessel was destroyed in international waters off the coast of Venezuela. The defense secretary added that 4 men were killed in the strike. Trump said in a social media post that the boat was, quote, loaded with enough drugs to kill 25,000 to 50,000 people. The operation marked the 4th strike since President Trump deployed U.S. naval forces to the region this summer. President Trump declared drug cartels to be unlawful combatants. Joining us now to discuss is Jonathan Houlihan, commander in the U.S. Navy's Judge Advocates General's Corps Reserve. He's a veteran of both the Iraq and Afghanistan combat theaters and a designated expert in international national security and operational law. Good afternoon to you, Jonathan. So the first question I have is that you already know the Trump administration. President Trump says the United States is now in a non-international armed conflict. What are the conditions then that must be met for that?
Well, yeah, thanks for having me on. First of all, I just throw out the disclaimer. I'm speaking on behalf of my background and experience, not on behalf of the DOD or the Department of Navy. But to answer your question, a non-state armed group that has command and control capability, that has shown with evidence they've committed violence, they have logistics capability, they're armed, they've committed violence, they carry out the drug trade into the United States. It's not just about the drugs, though, right? It's this whole criminal network that transports arms. They have this billion-dollar industry. There's violence on the southern border that's linked to them. So all of these things, as a non-state actor, make them eligible to be declared a non-international armed conflict and to be able to be targeted through these strikes.
Okay, so then what exactly distinguishes a non-international armed conflict from traditional law enforcement against criminal groups? Well, what does this really mean in practice?
So if you look at what the Coast Guard has been doing, and they've done these boarding operations along the coast and along our international waters, they board these vessels, and it's really a law enforcement function. You know, they seize drugs, they arrest people. When you make it a international armed non-state group that's part of an international armed conflict, it really raises the stakes. It makes them military targets, legitimate military targets that carry out through international law, where you can carry out these lethal strikes.
Does this have any potential to influence diplomatic relations, impact that? Could it provoke escalation that the U.S. is targeting these groups from these countries?
Well, of course, and like we saw in Afghanistan and Iraq, I mean, you would have all the intelligence in the world. You would strike targets with intel packages that had arms. They were committing attacks against the United States, and all of a sudden they're an innocent farmer, right? Or they were just innocent people that were just minding their own business. So of course you're going to see what they call démarche actions in the State Department. You're going to see, you know, all of these UN diplomatic actions against these armed attacks. So that's why it's important that the intelligence is there, and that's why you're seeing them release these videos, because it's showing these are fast boats moving drugs. They meet that criteria. They're not just innocent fishermen. So there's always a chance of diplomatic relations being strained. But I think if and the president, rightly so, is taking his Article 2 commander-in-chief authority seriously, he's protecting American lives, and he's trying to get to the source of the problem and not wait for these drugs or these C2 command and control networks to enter into the United States. He's being proactive in upholding his oath of office under the Constitution of the United States.
So, Jonathan, there's another word here that's being used. What does it mean to declare drug cartels to be unlawful combatants?
Yeah, that goes back if post 9/11, President Bush declared the Al-Qaeda network and all those affiliated terrorist groups as unlawful enemy combatants, and that makes them targetable. So that's really rooted back in that operational authority to be able to strike these combatants, because they are, if they're part of the C2 network, they've been designated from the State Department as foreign terrorist organizations, and they're committing operations on behalf of those organizations. They're unlawful enemy combatants, and that gets really to international law. And to use that language is a way to if there are diplomatic relations strained in the UN, this allows them to designate them in a very public way that kind of cuts some of that off.
And you talked about earlier how the administration is using military force in such a way that perhaps some civilians might get injured. I mean, does the president need congressional approval before using such force?
Well, under Article 2 of the Constitution, I mean, he's commander-in-chief, so he has a duty to protect the American people. And there is the War Powers Act, I believe 1974 or 5, that really came as a result of the Vietnam War, where Congress has to be notified. So you don't want Congress to handcuff the President of the United States as commander-in-chief to not be able to protect American lives, but there are some notification requirements, and I think that's what you're seeing now. President Trump is following the law. He's following the War Powers Resolution. He's notifying Congress of these strikes, but ultimately, the president has a duty to protect American lives, and he's taking that duty seriously as commander-in-chief, and he's striking these targets as intelligence supports. These are legitimate military targets with this command and control network that these non-state international groups have.
Yeah, he is taking it seriously, protecting people's lives. Can you explain for us in some detail the process of how directives from the president actually translates into real-time decisions?
Sure, I can give it general parameters. I got to be careful. I don't want to kind of go into the details too much, but essentially you'll have this designation. You'll have a group that's declared unlawful combatants, or that we're engaged in non-international armed conflict. That translates to an operational order from the Secretary of Defense. That goes down to the combatant commanders, where they have tactical orders. They organize and have whatever resources they have, whatever assets they have to strike these targets. And that transcends all the way down to the combatant commander, down to the tactical level, where whatever they have, whatever means and ability they have to carry out those orders, they're going to do it with professionalism. They're going to do it within the law of armed conflict, and they're going to uphold their duty to protect American lives, which is what we see here.
And if I may, let me just ask you one more question. Could you paint a picture for us of what an example of a rules of engagement package would potentially look like in one of these scenarios of targeting a drug boat?
Well, so you'll see ROE package. It'll have certain parameters. You'll have, this is the group, this is the targeted group, whether they're designated or they have specific intelligence on their activities. It's always going to be backed up with good intelligence that really pins that activity on that group and on that logistics hub or whatever it is, the command and control network. You're going to have positive ID, so you're going to have to identify those folks, and that's what really mitigates civilian casualties or innocent loss of life. It happens. Sometimes there's collateral damage, obviously, but it doesn't negate that whatever that target is a legitimate military target. You're going to have it go through legal review. Folks like me, I've reviewed thousands of these ROE packages when I was on active duty, and that whole process is vetted. They're going to use certain, whatever it is, a certain kind of weapon system to make sure there's not innocent loss of life, and all of those things are in the kind of international law lane to make sure that we're upholding international law and making sure that it's within American interest for diplomacy. All of those things go into play, but at the end of the day, a ROE package is going to make sure it's a lawful enemy combatant, enemy target, and make sure it's done within the rules of engagement. And it's going to have legal review at multiple levels before those strikes are carried out.
Well, okay, fascinating stuff, Jonathan. Thank you for sharing your insight with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
A court has ruled former President Biden exceeded his authority when he banned offshore drilling. We have that story after this break.
The bladder control aisle. You won't shop here again. Your private business is your own. The constant struggle is over. Now there's a better way. It's HDIS. We home deliver bladder control products. We understand how you feel. For over 25 years, we've home delivered to many of the 20 million Americans who deal with incontinence. We offer all brands. We pay shipping and use plain, unmarked boxes. If we can help you or someone you care for, call for your free product sample pack and $45 in money-saving coupons. Our counselors will help you choose the right product. And unlike stores, we're always in stock. You'll get what you need. Satisfaction guaranteed. HDIS, the better way.
For your free sample pack with your free catalog, $45 in money-saving coupons, and free product samples, call 1-800-701-6159. That's 1-800-701-6159.
I didn't ask to lose my mother or to be abused at 5 years old. I didn't ask to be kicked out of my house with nowhere to go. I didn't ask for any of this. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there. Thanks to their love and support, and to generous people like you, I got what I needed to take control of my life.
For the young people who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations, Covenant House is there providing safety, hope, and a brighter future. Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night. 1 in 10 young adults will experience homelessness this year. Your gift can help reach them when they need it most.
I didn't ask for my parents and my family to disown me. I didn't ask to end up in a homeless shelter. The beauty of it all is that I found Covenant House.
The need is overwhelming, but your monthly support will make sure no young person is ever turned away. Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today. If there's no Covenant House, where would I be today?
Your monthly gift is urgently needed to reach young people in communities like yours who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations. Show them they're loved and not alone. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
A federal judge has stepped aside in Oregon's lawsuit against the Trump administration over National Guard troops. District Judge Michael Simon recused himself from the case just hours after the Justice Department noted a possible conflict of interest. The DOJ pointed out that Simon's wife, Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici, had publicly denounced President Trump's plan to federalize Oregon National Guard troops, calling it a gross abuse of power. She also said no military is welcome or needed in Portland. In his October 2nd order, Judge Simon said he did not believe federal law required his recusal, but decided to step aside regardless. The lawsuit was filed by Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield last week. It came after President Trump announced he would deploy troops to protect federal immigration facilities in Portland from what he described as domestic terrorists. Apple has removed Ice Block from its App Store, an app that allowed users to report and track the locations of ICE officers. The company says it acted after receiving law enforcement warnings that the tool could put agents at risk. Attorney General Pam Bondi says the Justice Department pushed for the removal, calling the app a danger to law enforcement. The move comes after a deadly shooting outside an ICE facility in Dallas, where officials say the suspect searched for tracking apps, including Ice Block. ICE officials have long argued the platform endangered their officers. The app's creator called Apple's decision disappointing, saying it was a capitulation to political pressure. An immigration judge has refused to reopen Kilmar Abrego Garcia's asylum case. Abrego Garcia is an illegal immigrant from El Salvador. He was deported to his homeland in March by the Trump administration and was later returned to the U.S. under a Supreme Court order. Garcia was previously denied asylum back in 2019. His attorneys petitioned that ruling, citing concerns that he could be deported to Uganda. The judge on Wednesday denied the request, but gave Garcia 30 days to appeal the decision. According to the Department of Homeland Security, the decision means his original removal order stands. Garcia illegally entered the U.S. in 2011 and stayed in Maryland. He is accused of being a member of the foreign terrorist organization MS-13. One of the two men killed in yesterday's attack on a synagogue in Manchester, England, appears to have been accidentally shot by police. Authorities said worshippers tried to stop the attacker from entering the building. Here's more.
British police said on Friday they may have accidentally shot two victims, including one who died, as they tried to stop an attack at the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue in Manchester. On Thursday, two men were killed after Jihad al-Shami, a British man of Syrian descent, drove a car into pedestrians and then stabbed several people outside the synagogue during Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. Armed officers shot him dead at the scene. Greater Manchester Police Chief Constable Steve Watson confirmed that al-Shami was not carrying a firearm, but one of the victims killed suffered a gunshot wound. Another worshipper is believed to have suffered a non-life-threatening gunshot wound, Watson said. Both victims were close together behind the synagogue door as they tried to prevent the attacker from entering. On Friday, residents in Manchester were shaken by the attack.
It is worrying times, very, very worrying times, I think, in the UK. And I don't think there's ever been a time where I've been worried myself, but now I even feel that at the minute.
It's not the country I want to live in. It's somewhere where people are being affected so awfully for just living their life. It's definitely not what anyone wants, and it's really sad to see.
The British government vowed to intensify efforts against anti-Semitism as the Jewish community reeled from the attack. Prime Minister Keir Starmer visited the site but made no public statements. Police also urged organisers to cancel a planned protest in London by a banned pro-Palestinian group. Organisers said the protest would go ahead and that it was the police's choice whether to make more arrests of people, quote, peacefully holding signs.
Meanwhile, today, President Trump says he has reversed cuts to Homeland Security and counterterrorism funding for New York City and the state. He called it an honor to restore the funding. A federal judge has ruled that an offshore drilling ban under former President Joe Biden was illegal. On one of his final days in office, President Biden withdrew large areas along U.S. coastlines from future offshore oil and gas development. He made the move under the 70-year-old Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act. President Trump signed an executive order to repeal that effort, and Republican states and oil and gas industry groups sued. A federal judge in Louisiana ruled that President Biden had exceeded his authority. U.S. District Judge James Kane explained that the withdrawal was illegal because it was intended to be permanent. The Supreme Court is taking up its first important Second Amendment case in more than a year. It will decide if states may bar people from carrying guns on private property without permission from the property owner. The dispute is about a law in Hawaii from 2023. It requires permit holders who want to carry their handgun into a store to get unambiguous written or verbal authorization from the owner. It also bans guns on beaches, in parks, and in bars and restaurants that serve alcohol. Gun owners and a gun rights group sued, arguing the law infringes on the right to carry in public. Hawaii argues that citizens should be able to exclude firearms from their private property. The Trump administration also urged the Supreme Court to take the case. If the gun owners succeed, this could expand carry rights in private businesses that serve the public, such as malls, restaurants, and stores. The Supreme Court will deliberate the case in its new term, which begins next Monday and runs through next June. Key takeaways as the U.S. enters its third day of a government shutdown. We talked to a reporter for the Epoch Times after this short break.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
And we'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella!
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight.
Skylar, come here.
Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
My mom and dad were traditional Asian parents. Now my father would go to work before I woke up in the morning, and then he would come home too tired to play with me. I tell my son, I love you every single day. Now my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. So I teased him the other day and I said, how come you never say that to me? And he said, you're too old now. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the material things, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious minute or moment.
Say bye-bye. Bye-bye.
The Senate is currently doing a procedural vote, and joining us to discuss the latest on the government shutdown is Lawrence Wilson, reporter for the Epoch Times. So good afternoon, Lawrence. We're in day 3 of the shutdown. What do Democrats and Republicans stand to gain from a shutdown?
Well, I think the Democrats are really looking for 2 things here. One, and primarily, they're looking to show some strength in opposing Donald Trump and his agenda. I think that's really what's behind this based on the experts that I've been talking to. They were criticized for not seeming strong enough back in March when similar spending negotiations were underway. And I think they want to show, yeah, we can really stand up to the Republicans. The other thing that they can gain is some movement on some of the healthcare initiatives that they're talking about. They're not going to get from the Republicans certainly everything that they're looking for, but there are some Republicans who would like to extend the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare subsidies, and so they may get some movement there. So that's for the Democrats. I think the Republicans, what they get is just to watch the Democrats do something that could backfire quite a bit. So Republicans are just kind of sitting back and watching this unfold because I think they believe it's not going to end well for the Democrats.
So you're saying it could backfire, and I just want to follow up on that. What do they have to lose, Democrats and Republicans, from a shutdown?
Yeah, well, in a shutdown, sometimes the parties get what they want get concessions from the others. Sometimes they don't. What they stand to lose is getting blamed by the public. So I think if Schumer, particularly minority leader in the Senate, if he and the Democratic Party look like they are capitulating or not being strong enough or just folding their hand too quickly, they could lose some face with their own party. If it goes on too long, they could stand to be blamed by the general public. The same could be true for Republicans. Both sides really want to avoid looking like the one who caused this or the one who caused it to drag on.
So what role has President Trump played in the shutdown? Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, he met with leaders from both parties on Monday. That proved fruitless. It got nowhere. And I don't think, frankly, either party really wanted to budge at that point. He has made indications that he's going to lay off some federal workers. I think he levied that a few days ago, hoping perhaps that it would cause the Democrats to rethink. But that also fits in line with a strategy that he's had of reducing the size of the federal government. He's withheld some funding for energy projects, but other than comments on social media, he hasn't really done much. He's letting this play out mostly between the congressional leaders.
And you mentioned a downsizing of the federal government. I'm glad you brought that up, because what is the size of layoffs that we can expect to see?
That's really hard to say. Now, the administration has used the word thousands. We don't know if that means 2,000 or 3,000 or 50 or 60,000. It just means potentially a lot of people. Not sure what the number would be. We do believe it's going to happen soon. It was 2 days ago when Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, said that layoffs would be coming in a day or two. So that could happen as soon as today or perhaps very soon.
And we're seeing the footage right now on that side of the screen of the Senate vote. What are the signs that Democrats and Republicans have shown in finding a solution to the shutdown, right? I mean, it doesn't seem very likely that we're going to have major breakthroughs in the Senate vote today.
That's what we're hearing from Senate leaders. This is kind of pro forma. They don't expect anyone to really break ranks or to have a different outcome. On the leadership level, there's not much happening. They're really not even talking at this point. Some of the rank and file members have been talking to one another, and particularly about this matter of the Affordable Care Act subsidies, which expire at the end of the year. That, some of them think, could be a key to seeing a resolution, but they're still a long way apart even on that. And some of the folks we've talked to have said this is a very complicated issue, and you can't just hammer it out over one late night. It takes some real thought into this and should be done through regular appropriations. So some are talking, but not leaders at this point.
Can I ask you, when will ordinary Americans start to feel the pain from the shutdown? Because lawmakers, they still get paid.
Yeah. Usually it's when it hits the pocketbook. That's when we all feel the pinch, I think. So if you happen to live in an area with a high concentration of federal employees, and of course Washington and that area would count, but there are other areas in the country where the defense industry, for example, and other federal agencies are pretty strong. Well, those people who are furloughed and even people in the military working without pay. So if there's no money coming in, there's no money going out, that's going to affect restaurants and grocery stores and other things. Beyond that, when government services start to slow down for people, I heard Senator Hawley mention today, look, if a farmer can't get an agricultural loan, if this really starts to affect people's livelihood, then we may see some quick movement as the public outcry grows.
So in your article about this topic, which I've read on the Epoch Times newspaper, there was a professor of political science and legal studies at Hamline University who said that both sides are playing to their bases, right? And he said much of American politics is not about mobilizing the swing voters. So if that is the case, then what is it about?
Well, that particular professor's point was this, that the middle has gotten very small and people are mostly voting based on party association or ideology. In that case, the party who can get the most of their own people out to the polls stands a better chance of winning. So if, for example, the Democrats can show, yeah, we're really standing up and fighting for you on health care, then people may remember that and be more likely to vote. If they feel like, well, what are they really doing for us? They may just sit home. So his point was both sides are trying to show their own people, we've got your interests at heart.
Well, Lawrence, it looks like as we're speaking, they failed to end the filibuster and bring the Democrat continuing resolution to a vote. I just have one question left for you. I'm wondering here, is it going to impact the 2026 elections? Why or why not?
Well, most of the people that we've spoken with, the experts I've consulted, have said probably not, because people have very short memories. If this went on for months, if it became the story of the year, maybe, but 12 months is a long time to remember one political event. Now, the issue of, did my party perform well? Did the leaders that I respect look like they really have my interests at heart? That could stick in people's minds a little bit longer.
Well, okay, Lawrence, it was great to talk to you today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Germany's Munich airport has reopened after being shut down overnight due to drone sightings. Dozens of flights were canceled or diverted, but operations resumed early this morning. Nearly 3,000 passengers were temporarily stranded on the eve of German Reunification Day, a public holiday across Germany. It's the latest in a string of drone disruptions across Europe. Authorities have not publicly blamed anyone for the Munich drone sightings, but some officials are suggesting that Russia may be behind other recent airspace violations. The incident comes after Munich's Oktoberfest was temporarily closed due to a bomb threat. Today is Unity Day in Germany, marking 35 years since the collapse of the Berlin Wall and the reunification of Germany. French President Emmanuel Macron is the first foreign head of state in over 20 years to address the nation on Unity Day. Here's Macron.
Mais la guerre revient sur notre sol. War has returned to our soil through Russian aggression in Ukraine. War is also returning every day in more hybrid forms, through violations of our airspace and through migration routes. It's the beginning of a new era, a new epoch. Not a continent arming itself to wage war against itself, but a continent deciding to stand at the forefront to deter others from attacking it, to protect its territory, and to defend its values.
The French president also compared the situation today to the day the wall in Berlin fell 35 years ago. Macron is calling for boldness and determination to build a Europe as a strategic, economic, technological, and democratic force. The Chinese Communist Party and its overseas embassies are marking the 76th anniversary of the founding of the CCP regime, but many Chinese, both in China and abroad, see the day as one of national suffering. In New York, Chinese dissidents gathered outside the Chinese consulate in Manhattan to protest. NTD's Tiffany Meyer has the report.
We're protesting the 76th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party's rise to power. They call it National Day. We call it a national tragedy.
People familiar with Chinese history know that it was Chiang Kai-shek's Kuomintang government that led China to victory over fascism in World War II. Meanwhile, the Chinese Communist Party was building its own strength during that time. After Japan surrendered, the CCP launched a civil war, pushing the exhausted Kuomintang forces to retreat to Taiwan.
What was founded in 1949 wasn't a legitimate government chosen by the people. It was the beginning of a brutal dictatorship, a one-party regime that took power without any democratic mandate.
For more than 70 years, the Chinese Communist Party has carried out political campaigns targeting people across all social classes and ethnic groups. The most notorious examples are the Cultural Revolution and the persecution of the Falun Gong spiritual group, which began in 1999.
Down with the Communist Party and the CCP's tyranny.
As the Chinese Communist Party marked its anniversary, the Chinese embassy in Ottawa, Canada, was seen flying the communist flag upside down.
For more exclusive China news and in-depth analysis, tune in to China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer at 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on NTD. Italy's aperitivo brings millions together for an after-work cocktail. The ritual isn't unique to Italy, but locals celebrate its culture and tradition. Stay tuned for that story after this short break.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're going to benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
£6 prescription glasses from Select Specs are always great value. There are no offer codes or first-time customers only. Anyone can buy them, anytime. And you can upgrade to Select Specs Express for next-day delivery. And with deferred payments, you can spread the cost.
See now, pay later with Select Specs £6 specs. Next-day delivery and deferred payment options available at selectspecs.com/£6.
Did you know Mathis Home has been giving their customers the best styles and value for 65 years? Come celebrate with 65th anniversary savings on everything in the store. This set is a great deal. You get the modern trestle table with 4 comfy side chairs, the complete set for just $8.89. With over 100 dining sets in stock, you're sure to find the one just right for your family and get free delivery. Get your new dining room now with 65th anniversary savings at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
The children's toy Evermore Surprise Eggs is being recalled due to the risk of lead contamination. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says the toy airplane inside the egg contains levels of lead that exceed federal standards. The recall is for about 98,000 surprise eggs in yellow, pink, or green wrappers. They were sold at 7-Eleven, Horizon, Speedway, and Murphy stores nationwide in March and April of this year. No injuries have been reported. And Demers Food Group has issued a voluntary recall for one of its shrimp products. The Food and Drug Administration says the recall covers select packages of shrimp scampi with linguine due to possible listeria contamination. The product is sold under the Scott & John's brand name. The FDA says the recall was initiated by a California food supplier which supplied an ingredient which was recalled for listeria contamination. There have been no illnesses reported to date. Anyone who's bought the product should throw it out or return it to their store for a full refund. Sending some stuff in the mail will soon cost a little bit more. Starting next week, the United States Postal Office, or Service, is boosting its prices for the 2025 holiday season. Officials say these adjustments are needed to help deal with the extra handling expenses that come during this busier than usual time of year. Priority Mail Express, Priority Mail Ground Advantage, and Parcel Select will all be affected. The holiday pricing will expire on January 18th. More information is available on the Postal Service website. Taylor Swift fans lined up at select Target stores across the U.S. to mark the release of her latest album. The singer-songwriter's new album dropped at midnight on Friday. It is now available on all major streaming platforms. It's called The Life of a Showgirl and will also be sold on vinyl, CD, and cassette. This is Swift's 12th original studio album and her first since she became the owner of her entire music catalog. Aside from getting engaged to Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce, Swift has kept a relatively low profile since ending her record-setting Eras tour in December. Firefighters and first responders are facing immense stress from the dangerous situations they face every day. Now, therapy animals are helping them heal thanks to Heidi Carmen and her team at First Responder Therapy Dogs, bringing comfort, calm, and even a few wagging tails on their toughest days. Here's more.
To fight the fires in California is like a war zone. It's grueling work. It's smoky. It's hot.
See how close it is, guys? Yeah.
It's dangerous. They go for a minimum of 2 weeks, 24 hours on, 24 hours off. That stress, to have it lightened with a therapy dog visit, is priceless. We got Kareth in 2018, and we were training her to become a working guide dog.
Kareth, touch. Nice.
She was just too friendly to every single person. So I started doing therapy dog work with her. During the 2020 fire season, going around to fire base camps, she was so good at just making the firefighters feel better. I started posting pictures on her Instagram. Then I was getting messages, can you come to my husband's police department? I'm like, yeah, sure. Now we have hundreds of therapy dog teams across the entire country. We go to fire base camps, fire stations, police departments, 911 dispatch centers. All first responders would benefit.
The average adult male lives around 18 years longer than the average adult police officer. And that is often because of chronic stress. And oftentimes as a defense mechanism, we close up.
Is she just for first responders?
Yeah.
She's so soft.
When we are around emotional support animals, you just see that all sort of melt away.
Cortisol levels go down, the endorphin levels go up. I can feel that goodness just coming up the leash.
Just to have a dog come by and she can't talk,
can't ask questions, it can kind of break the ice.
Oh, I missed you too. The first time I met Kareth, I had undiagnosed PTSD. She just picked up on it right away. She just went nose to nose with me. And we just had a moment. And it broke me down. This was my wake-up call that I needed to go to therapy. They're man's best friend for a reason.
We have helped so many people. I'm grateful to Kareth for showing me the way.
October brings plenty of reasons to look up at the night sky, from a supermoon to not one, but 2 meteor showers. It's shaping up to be a busy month for stargazers. The month kicks off on October 6th with the supermoon harvest. Because the moon will be at its closest point to the Earth, it's going to look slightly larger and brighter as it rises in the east, just after sunset. Then on October 8th, the Draconoid meteor shower peaks. Expect just a handful of meteors per hour, but experts say the Draconoids can sometimes surprise with bursts of activity. Later in the month, the Orionoid meteor shower reaches its peak around October 21st, known for fast, bright streaks and sometimes fireballs. The Orionoids will line up with the new moon, giving sky watchers darker skies and a better show. Italy's aperitivo is a ritual that brings millions together for an after-work cocktail. The idea isn't unique to Italy, but locals celebrate its culture and tradition. NTD Santo Thomas has more on the Italian happy hour.
When the workday winds down in Milan, the Negroni and the Aperol Spritz come out. Equal parts gin, vermouth, and Campari, the Negroni has become one of the world's most ordered cocktails. The Aperol Spritz is one of the most iconic. Andrea Neri at Campari Group explains their cultural significance.
Has gone well beyond Milan, well beyond Italy, also thanks to the global phenomenon of Aperol Spritz that has been able to paint the world orange and bring the ritual of staying together in an informal way.
The Aperol Spritz mixes Aperol, Prosecco, and soda. The drink has become a staple in bars beyond Italy, particularly in the U.S. Milan local Sergei says regardless of beverage selection, the experience is about ambiance.
This is one of the places here in Milan. We come very often because it's in the heart of Milan, next to Duomo, the cathedral, and we really love the view here. People are passing and it's very joyful.
Fellow Italian imbiber Claudia illustrates what the aperitivo means to her.
The aperitivo in Milan is a ritual. It's the perfect moment to go out and enjoy the city, the lively city that you breathe, especially in these last nights of September when the weather is still good. It's a moment when you relax and you can do networking, you can meet your colleagues, but also, why not, see your friends and take a break from a day that has certainly been challenging.
Claudia shares the way she likes to enjoy the traditional Italian cocktail hour in Milan.
So definitely, all Milanese have a good aperitivo. My favourite is the Camperino. I like to come and have it right here because it's the right place to find a cocktail made well, and because with the view of Duomo, in short, everything is better.
Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
President Trump reverses $187 million in cuts to counterterrorism funding for New York City and state. We have that story and more after this break.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural, organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure, natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
Hunger in America is a crisis. Let's end it together. Our America. Built on hard work, determination, and grit. Sometimes the days run long, but hope, it never runs out, even when the food does, for America's veterans, working parents, even kids. Because in every corner of every town, even yours, millions of hardworking neighbors are facing a hunger crisis, many for the very first time. In this land of plenty, affording food shouldn't require second jobs and third shifts or choosing between your groceries and bills. Today, you can help change that. Call or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, less than 63 cents a day, to help every neighbor get the food they urgently need. Because taking care of each other is what makes America strong. We're Feeding America, not just a name, but an action. Working with over 200 local food banks like the ones in your community, and demand is soaring.
You go to the grocery store, you spend $100, and $100 is a new $20 bill.
Even with 2 full-time jobs, it's hard to make ends meet.